Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, teacher. This is a presentation about a drastic measure that humanity may have to employ in the future geoengineering. Let's discuss the impacts of climate change on our planet and the steps we can take to address them.
By the end of the 21st century, humanity may face severe challenges stemming from the impact of climate change. The case of heat waves, droughts, and declining agricultural yields, combined with dwindling forests stuck from warming oceans, could, uh, could lead to widespread food insecurity and mass migration. As this I, I, as is used scaled, large scale intervention so of geoengineering have been proposed of potential strategies to mitigate the effects of global warming. Intervention of massive in scale that they meet on centuries of human behavior or makes everything much worse. What is geoengineering? Is it really an option, and what is if it goes wrong? Geoengineering methods vary from fantastic ones like constructing giant like sails in space to sentence calls with sail or wilder ones like fertilizing the oceans with iron to speed up the growth of trillions of algae cells. And the presentation will focus of an intervention we call sea touring or lifetimes stratospheric aerosol injection injection injection, a clunky term that means spraying stuff very high up in the atmosphere to keeping the sun away. Um, carbon dioxide doesn't heat up the planet one this owned. Almost all of the energy on Earth comes from the sun in the form of electromagnetic radiation. About um, 21 of the energy is absorbed by the Earth's surface and atmosphere. This absorbed energy is emitting again as infrared radiation, and carbon dioxide is able to trap this infrared radiation and keep in the
This
atmosphere
effect
for
can be
a while.
compared with a snuggling under a blanket in the morning, even in a really cool room. Your body emits infrared radiation, and the air between your body and the blanket traps it and creates a warm and comfy feeling. So one way to cool down the planet would be to pretend energy from getting trapped under our planet blanket, which is already happening naturally. About 29% of the solar radiation hitting Earth is reflected back to space by brick surface like ice, desert, snow, or clouds. More reflection equals less energy, equals less warming. We can look at nature for inspiration, specifically the 1991 Mount Pinatubo eruption, the second largest volcanic eruption of the 20th century. Aside from massive devastation and almost 900 deaths, scientists note its strong impact on the global climate. The explosion ejected millions of tons of particles and gas as high as the atmosphere, which hung around the there for a while. For a while, the stuff that is interested for geoengineering is sulfur dioxide, a nasty smelling and invisible gas. High in the atmosphere, it produces a haze of sulfuric acid droplets that mixes with water and create a giant veils. The veils reduce the sunlight reaching Earth's surface by roughly 1%. Global average temperatures drop by the zero point 0.5 Celsius. It took 3 years until this cooling effect had stopped. Next, please. Next. Humans could be imitate this process by injecting sulfur particles directly into the extratrosphere, according to some scientists. This means be surprisingly easy to do, and we don't even need a lot of new technology for it. According one study, it also might be pretty cheap compared with the cost of rapid climate change. A small fleet of specialized airplanes could be ascended once a year and distribute aerosol along the equator from where they will be spread around the world. Projected assume that injecting between 5 and 8 megatons of material per year will be reflect enough sunlight to slow down or even stop global warming, giving us precious time to transition away from fossil fuels.
Okay, unfortunately, there might be a few unhappy side effects. There are a number of potential issues with aerosol injections. Rainfall patterns could change, which could negatively affect agriculture and cause famine. Billions of people could be affected in the worst case. Also, after 1991 Mount Pinatubo eruption, the acid water bills not only cool down the surface, they also heat up the stratosphere, and as it turns out, acid is bad for the ozone layer, and the ozone hole over Antarctica was the largest it ever has been. Injecting, injecting sulfur particles over decades could have a similar effect. Scientists have already suggested using a combination of different minerals that might be have much less harmful effects on the ozone layer. But more research and experiments need to be done to make sure this could work. But even if we don't damage the ozone layers, there are other risks. Next, please. Next. Mhm. Politicians and industry might use the cooling effect as an excuse to delay the switch to a carbon neutral economy. Even if geoengineering slows down global warming, humanity is still adding extra CO2 to the atmosphere. More CO2 in the air means that the ocean absorbs more CO2, which makes them more acidic. This is already beginning to be deadly to huge ecosystems like coral reefs, and the longer this continues, the more severe the effects will be. But it gets worse. Once we start pumping particles into the atmosphere on a massive scale, we might be forced to do so for a long time, or we could risk a termination shock. What this means is that if humanity continues to enrich the atmosphere with CO2, but at the same time prevents the planet from heating up by blocking solar radiation, we are creating a time bomb. Once we stop engineering, the natural cycle will take over again, and Earth would heat up. But after a few decades of keeping the planet artificially cold while still releasing massive amounts of CO2, it would heat up way more quicker. An increase in temperature that would take 50 years today could happen in just 10 years. Such a temperature shock in such a short time would disrupt every major system on Earth so much that it would be impossible to adapt in time. The worst case scenario could be dramatic famines and the rapid destruction of ecosystems. Humanity might survive, but the survivors would inhabit an unfamiliar and hostile world. The best case scenario in that once the world has finally fully understood the existential danger of rapid climate change, geoengineering can buy us a crucial decade or two, time to transition our economies and may even pull CO2 out of the atmosphere.
Geoengineering is a scary concept. It is not a solution to climate change, and it might even be a welcome excuse for the fossil fuel industry to delay the end of the fossil fuel age. Over the last few decades, geoengineering has been so controversial that it stopped many scientists from doing the experiments necessary to understand it better, but blankly opposing geoengineering is short-sighted. The sad truth is that we are already running geoengineering experiments. We are testing how fast the world changes if we add about 40 billion tons of CO2 each year. This experiment is about to get really exciting. Hopefully, we never have to use geoengineering, but if we need to into the future, we better have done the science. We better be prepared or a panic humanity. Thanks. Thanks for us, Professor.